Jamie here. Hope everyone's doing outside Friday, July 18th, 3/29. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from the S&P slightly in the red here. Let's see if it can go into the green before the end of the day. It's going to be another green week. And if we get into the green, it'll be another all-time high close. So we'll see how that plays out. Same with the NASDAQ is slightly in the red here. Let's see where it is right now. Down about a tenth of a percent. You just had the Genius Act signed by POTUS. So, I mean, it was already passed. So it's just a matter of just the official signing it. No big deal. But so that's kind of like already baked in, but not much in the way of catalyst here. Today we had consumer confidence better than expected, 10 o'clock. Yesterday was retail sales data better than expected, PPI data cooler than expected, CPI data uh, in line with expectations, higher year over year. Depends on who you talk to. If you've been bearish the market since April and before that, it was signs that the tariffs are having major impacts in regards to inflation. If you haven't been, uh, it's like, all right, not too bad. So next week's a big, well, not a big one, but earnings season kind of picks up. We have Google, Intel, Tesla, Chipotle, Intuitive Surgical. I'm trying to think of some of the other names that are on the list. Decker Outdoors reports Deck, and then some other names. And then the following week, it really starts to heat up here. But kind of like a lackluster session here today. And you take a look at the US dollar is reversing lows. Uh, Still down a quarter percent here, but not ending the week kind of how I'd like to see it. But on the flip side, yields are lower. So see if the 30-year can get back under 5%. And I think that bodes well into next week. I mean, last weekend we had the announcement that Trump wanted to slap 35% to 45% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, right? And you thought, oh, that's, or was it the EU? I forget which. You get after a while, all these kind of get I was posting before, it's like these headlines, it's like you get numb. It's like the market's getting more numb to the headlines as they come out, right? But that was last weekend, right? And you thought, oh, markets were selling off at the open, and then we go red to green. I'm like, are we green yet? Are we green yet? And green yet? And then sure enough, shook that off. Wednesday, we had the whole Powell firing fiasco, 624 so on the SPY, all the way down to 618 in the flash. So, for now, it's like, even if there is a headline and you want to short the market, it's like, uh, is that, we're going to bounce back. Well, seems like, especially with all these recent the headlines over the last couple of weeks, it's like it's been a futile attempt to, if you short the market, you better cover quick. So at some point that'll change. But I remain cautiously optimistic, and I was hoping we got nearly to 6:30 today, 6:29:30 in the morning. Probably have to figure 6:32 or so next week, and then maybe something to revisit, especially as we start to get the mega cap earnings. I don't know how much Tesla's going to move the market, although Tesla obviously being an S&P component, decent weighting that can have an impact. And that's and IBM reports next week, right? Big blue. So the yield's down just a little bit. The 30-year still a tick over 5%. Hopefully that ticks down. All right, so now just quick on some individual names. Of course, I'll start out with Joby. A monster week. I mean, stock was up 51% a little while ago when it was 1820. Let's see where it is now. Still up, yes, 1810. So it's up another 2% today. It was up like 10%, 8% yesterday, 11% today. So it's a monster run. At some point, even if this is a $25, $30 stock in the coming months, at some point there's going to be a pull, right? And the quicker it goes up, the bigger that pull is going to be. And it's not going to be for any fundamental, well, at least in my opinion, fundamental reason. It'll just because you take profits and it becomes a snowball effect and people start panicking or what have you. So that hasn't happened yet, which is kind of impressive. And you take a look, even today, every time you look at, open red, bounce to the green and back into the lows by about 1045. And then boom, from 1740 up almost up to 1840 in a matter of flash. So 1833 is the all-time high. And we're sitting here at 23 cents away from it. Just impressive stuff. But like I keep saying, I don't want to be in a spot where it does pull. And for me, if I think it's going to be in the 20s later, I'd rather take some more of the shorter dated strikes off. So I took the rest of the August 12 calls off just because, there, even if it gets to $20, how much more am I going to get on the calls, right? I mean, close the rest at 635. So, I mean, maybe they're $8, I get another $1.75 on the contract. And then I could probably, in lieu of holding those, I could probably be more selective and add some more strikes if I want to. So I can use that as ammo. So that's kind of the thought process there. So almost a 10 bagger on the last of those strikes. And then I still have the Octobers, and the Octobers are still up like 400, 500%. So I'll just continue to hold those. And then with the possibility that the October strikes may get decimated at some point with a pull. I'll add some more with the ammo, and I'll continue to use that strategy as it heads higher. So to me, could open at 16 on Monday. It could open over 20 on Monday. So because of that, that's why it doesn't hurt to take profits. All right, so that's Joby. Monster week. So hopefully we can get the same kind of, and here's the candle on Joby. So you can take a look. I mean, it's been chopping around, chopping around, chopping around. And you see every time it hit highs in the middle of summer of 2024, hit highs again at the end of 2024, and then 2025. Once we broke those highs again, boom. So that's that. Oh, Baidu. I'll talk about Baidu in a second. So that's Joby. So now we have, did I put SERV up here? Yeah, SERV, lackluster session here today. I mean, it's down 1%. I'm hoping SERV has, at some point, it's going to have, I wouldn't say hoping, because it's going to have the same type of move that Joby had. It's just a matter if it's going to happen next week, the week after, next month, or the month after. But again, you look at SERV, and it's almost like it has more, you have more clarity to their path of success, right? Or what those outcomes look like. And as we get closer to the end of the year and into the start of next year, you look at SERV, if they execute on those, getting 2,000 robots from the Uber partnership online and going it, then you have to think that revenue guidance that it gave of 60 million for next year is going to be conservative, right? So and not only that, has a 22% short interest, no debt. If you look at it as a valuation standpoint, $200 million of the cash takeout to $600 million. Oh, actually, it's 690 now, and you have a $400 million company. So even at that ratio, it trades less than 10 times revenues forward-looking revenues. Not the best metric to look at, but when you have growth companies that are still in the early stage of growth, you take what you can get in regards to trying to figure out a valuation. Even if it's a double from here, that's $1.2 billion company, and then you look at the stock, and it was $24, right? I think that would be a fair estimate. It was 24 back at the start of the year, so I think it gets back there soon. All right, so that's enough on SERV. So I added some lemonade strikes into next week. I continue to look at that one. Travelers reported earnings yesterday, so kind of like put a decent spotlight on the insurance sector. I think lemonade reports August 2nd, maybe August 5th. I think it's August 5th. So I was looking for some calls to encompass that, but the premiums are expensive. So then I was looking at the chart, and I'm like, even if it goes next week and breaks 45, 47.50's got to break, and that's been resistance. So I think I'll get an opportunity if it can get over 45. I'll lock some in, use those profits, and get later dated strikes, and go from there. But my thoughts on Lemonade. I'm not going to go too much into it. It's another one of those names that I think is misconstrued. Like it doesn't trade. It's number one, it's easy for folks to create the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And then number two, it's been hanging here. It should, in my opinion, should already be 80, 90, $100 because of all the short interest and the bearish folks and analysts who have the story wrong. That's why it's mispriced, right? So hopefully it gets back on track to getting priced properly, in my opinion. All right, so that's Lemonade. And then some other names, Dell, kind of the disappointing name of the day, right? I was watching this morning. You had Goldman Spectacular upgraded, or at least gave it a price target upgrade, and then you have Bank of America as well. Bank of America, I think, was already up to 165, somewhere in there, and Goldman Spectacular took it from 130 to 140. And then I'm watching, it was like 126 at the open, and then I pull my eyes away to look at Joby, and next thing I look, and I'm like, oh, it's going 127, 128. So I was actually looking at the 131s. They were like 12 cents, and then I went and got the 130s. So then it gets all the way up to 129, and then it just, I wouldn't call it flat lines, but it struggled to break through, struggled. And then every time it dipped to the 128, lower 128s, the premiums came out. So I gave it about 20 minutes. I said, that's it. I'm going to lock them in. And this is right around consumer confidence coming out. And so, of course, what does it do? It sells off into the 127. So I'm like, oh, great. Good call on that. And then I was going to look to re-enter, and I turned it off the main watch list, and boom, all the way up. Breaks 130. When it broke 130, went right to 131 in a flash. So that's how you know there's pent-up buying. And then it was all the way up to 132 by 3 o'clock. So those calls would have been 500%. But plenty of times I've done that and I held it. It doesn't pay out, and then I enter the weekend with a bad taste in the mouth. So had a plan. At least I didn't lose money on the calls, right? But and it's not bittersweet, but to know that it played out, I guess works, but it almost sometimes makes it worse because you're like, all I had to do was hold on for that bumpy ride, and then at 10:30 or so, that's when it spiked. I think it was 10:30, 10:45, somewhere there, 127 all the way up over 130 in a matter of like 10 minutes. All right. So that's Dell. I'll continue to look for opportunities on that one for a move to 139. I mean, obviously the risk reward is a little different. The premiums are more expensive. So even when it gets to 139 now, the calls aren't going to be a serious multi-baggers, the same kind of potential reward that I would have got if I had done the calls, if it was in the 120s back when it was. But and then the unfortunate thing, it's similar to Roku. Dell hasn't been moving in the leaps and bounds that it traditionally it did last summer, it did last spring. It seems to be kind of like lackluster outside of today. You look at today, nice candle. The rest of the candles have been kind of lackluster. All right, so that's Dell. Oh, and then Reddit, right? So Reddit dipped at the open. I'm watching that one for Lottos. Gets all the way down to 138, and I kind of take it off my watch, and boom, had $9 reversal. Is it 139 yet? 149. Yeah, it's getting close, right near the highs of the day. Another tough one. The premiums are expensive in the morning, and then I've done it before where I add the Reddit strikes today for next week. And again, it's pricey, so uh, you do have. Is it Google next week? Did I say? I think it's Google next week. So if you look at a name that might have a huge impact on Reddit, it's gonna be Google earnings, right? So you got to go up the 160s or dollar 50 by $1.61, so $12 out on money. So maybe I pending anything over the weekend is probably not going to. There's not going to be a crazy move on Monday, so I'd probably get some opportunities to play it for calls next week into Google earnings. And I think that Tesla too, right? Tesla reports. The thing with Tesla, it's like there's so much negativity now baked in to Tesla, in my opinion, right? I mean, the whole story and narrative and what have you in regards to Tesla, the bears keep saying it's a car company, which they've been saying for years and decades. Hey, it's worth more than 13 GMs combined or whatever it is. And then on the flip side, uh, now it's going into the other side of things. I mean, I back to 5-10 years ago, I always used to talk about the energy side of it, right? I mean, if you're able to take a house off the grid, that's such disruption, right? So you have the energy side, you have the AI side, now you have the robo taxi side, and you have the Optimus side, and no, people aren't even talking about the semi. So I mean, there's a lot of different levers that are getting pulled, but to me, it's like the story with Tesla now is not even about the cars anymore. It's about what that future growth looks like in regards to the robotaxi and Optimus. So we'll see how they spin it. And to me, even if the numbers aren't that great, and it's almost like expectations are, oh well, Musk screwed up the story, screwed up the company, screwed up the growth story. He's bitten his hand to whatever the saying goes, because he's hurt both sides of his party. Whether if you were whatever political party you were for, it's like he bashed your face on one side, and then he went and bashed the face on the other. So if you're if you look at him as a politicized figure, or polarized, I guess is the best word to describe him. But yeah, well, he definitely got his toes in the politics side of things. It's a tough story, right? So, well, as time goes, I think that erases some of it, but obviously what's going on with the Epstein list and blah, blah, blah is, keeps him still front and center. But the further he removes himself from some of that, I think the better, the better the stock performance. So a lot of it will be his commentary and how that all plays out, but not a name I trade or I haven't traded in a while. So I don't know if, I'd be trading that. Anyway, let's have a great weekend, folks. I also have the list of the names, so I'm gonna have that. I don't know if I'll have it on a rant or I'll do it on a quick watch list over the weekend where you can find the 10 names. MDB today disappointing. I was watching for that move all the way. At the open actually it was 221 or 220, and my calls are flat and green, and then it just bounced around. It's been pretty much flatlining all day today. But MDB, Dexcom, Deck reports next week. Still looking at that. Obviously Roku for earnings. I think they're August sometime. And what I mean, TTD is an interesting name. I'd be a little disappointed that it hasn't since its inclusion into the SP, it's still sitting here at $80. So anyway, let's have a great weekend, folks. I'll be back rock and roll.